straw!
No, we have more in the back.
You took away the bendy straws!
And you're locked into another episode of the MLU podcast. My name is Josh, and we're here making that intersection between faith and animation and delivering those redemptive analogies you've come to know and love each and every week, except for this week. We'll be touching on it a little bit, but every now and again we just like to have an episode where we just chit-chat about a movie that we really enjoyed. Something usually like a blast from the past, whether it be, TV show, TV special, TV movie, or just anything that falls within that category. And so that's going to be that kind of an episode today. But first of all, who's back? Rebecca's back this week.
Yay! Hey guys, glad to be back.
She's hitting the ground hard. She's back at school, trying to get that degree to become an LPC. And so she's working towards it, and we're so glad that she's back. And also something that is back, and a lot of people thought it wouldn't be, TikTok is back.
It is.
We had the darkest 12 hours ever in the United States, because originally it was going to be banned on the 19th. And then we all started getting messages on the app that it was already banned like on the 18th at like 5-6 o'clock, and so it like went dark, and everybody was so sad, so confused, and I felt bad for the creators and small businesses that TikTok gave them a lot of traction. So we don't know that it's here to stay. We'll see, and we'll see in the future. Rebecca, you got any thoughts on TikTok? I know that we're all prone to like doom scrolling, just scrolling because we want to get the hit of dopamine for that short content.
Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet, honestly. I was a little bit hoping that someone would just take this addiction away from me forcefully. But I do really like TikTok, so it's the only social media that I do. I think mainly because I can be a consumer rather than a participator. And I don't necessarily want to participate in social media because it can be, oh man, social media can be a real trap.
I mean,
honestly.
Right, because you don't got Facebook. You kind of sometimes go on Instagram, but not really.
Yep.
Gosh, I mean, it's just like, you just don't.
When I did use social media regularly, I found myself, like most people, looking at what I had posted and judging my worth based on how many likes or comments or whatever was on whatever I had posted. And that's just not healthy. I realized I did not want to do it. Once I finally broke away from it, I was like, I don't really care about doing this anymore. It just wasn't that interesting. I knew that it was unhealthy to be so focused on social media, which is why, honestly, I'm really glad that you handle our social media.
I mean, I kind of got to stay with what's hip and trendy, even though we don't really follow the TikTok dances or any of that. We try to post and repurpose our content on TikTok, but that's as much as we do, really. But yeah, so we may get that 9-day extension. An American company may buy half of TikTok. We just don't know. But for right now, we can all communicate with our Chinese spy. All right. Well, this week, we're going to take you back to the good old 2000s, 2005 to be exact. So I was a sophomore in high school. You were a freshman, right?
Yeah.
You would have been something like that.
Yeah, 2005. I mean, it depends on when in 2005.
Right.
I would have either been, if you were a sophomore, then I was a freshman.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
But we're going to take you back with a DCOM. And for those of you who don't know the lingo, that is a Disney Channel original movie. This is a big staple growing up. If you didn't go to the movies often or you didn't rent movies, you just had cable, about every month or so, a new Disney Channel original movie would come out. I know there was
Yeah. This was the era of High School Musical,
yeah, well, yeah, a
and
little bit before that.
this was before
But
High School Musical?
well, High
Yeah, I
School
guess that's true.
Musical, and they entered into
That was like
it.
6 or 7, 06 or 07.
Right, right. But before that, we had Gotta Kick It Up, Brink,
One
yes.
of my favorites. That played all the time. I did love it though.
Alley Cats was another one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But yeah, the days of DCOM and the days of what I would consider the golden era of Disney Channel, because you still had the animated block that would come on in the afternoon, and then in prime time you would have the live action TV shows like Even Stevens, Lizzie McGuire,
Oh, great shows.
and Disney Channel today is not what it used to be, but that's a topic for another day. When we're talking about DCOMs, there were really only live action. There weren't many animated DCOMs DCOMs out there until one red-haired, spunky, spirited cheerleader joined the ranks. So call me, beat me if you want to reach me. We are talking about Kim Possible, So the Drama. Now, Rebecca, as a redhead, you can relate certainly to this character.
Yeah, I loved Kim Possible. She was so cool. She was a spy. She was saving the world, but also had a high school existence and red hair. It was great. I think it was in middle school when I actually went as Kim Possible for Halloween one year. That was fun.
Yeah, for me, I enjoyed Kim Possible because she gave us something that wasn't really explored in Disney shows, which was a strong female lead character that, yeah, I'm a cheerleader and I have all these feminine aspects about myself, but I can also whoop some hiney as well. Rebecca, give us a brief synopsis of Kim Possible, So the Drama.
So we've got Kim. There's a dance coming up at school. She's worried about who's going to invite her to the dance, and trying to decide if she is going to go to the dance with Ron or find someone who is way more cool than Ron, because she feels peer pressure. So that's what's going on in Kim's life. But then we also have Dr. Drakken and Shigo, who Dr. Drakken is planning some masterful takeover, of course, as always. And throughout the movie, we see him planning these seemingly ridiculous and unconnected things that he keeps planning, and yet it comes together in the end. At one point, we have Ron freaking out about Bueno Naco, the
Yeah, Bueno Nacho.
Bueno Nacho,
Home of the Naco.
home of the Naco. There we go. That it's been bought by new management and things are changing, and there's a lot of this theme of change happening in the movie, which I think is really interesting and very much a part of high school life.
I mean, what is it not? Because you come into, high school as a freshman, you're not only going through like your physical changes, you're going through emotional changes, social changes. Yes. You had best friends, in grade school and middle school, and everybody went off in different directions. Maybe you kept a couple here or there, but yeah. And remembering the TV show, I think societal and what you were saying, social change was a big part of the series for all 4 seasons.
Like learning about friendships
Yeah.
and things like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, of course, it had to appeal to the middle school and high schoolers who were watching this.
Yeah, and what I find interesting about this movie is that it came in at the tail end of season 3. So season 4 hadn't even been greenlit yet. So we all thought that this is it. This is the end of the Kim Possible franchise. And if it was, that would have been all right. And it wrapped up things really nicely.
Yeah, it was good.
But I get it. We wanted to see, where Kim and Ron's relationship went, because that's kind of what we get is we get that friendship now it comes to a relationship. But we'll get a little bit more into that when we discuss our central themes here, which is what I want to get to. So, Rebecca, can you kind of guide us into that?
Yeah, well, obviously, like we were talking about, friendship and love is one of those. So Ron and Kim's dynamic really start to change over the course of the movie, and Kim thinks, well, she likes Ron, but she's never really thought about Ron in a romantic way.
Right, because even when she's on the phone with her mom, trying to get like dating and guy advice, is she says, "Well, yeah, there's guys," and then Ron is just Ron. Ron's not a guy.
He's been friend zoned hard.
Yeah, that's like
Poor guy.
arrow
Ooh.
to the heart right there.
Yeah. I think he's always liked Kim.
hmm
I don't
Well,
know.
they've been best friends since preschool, so
That was a long time. I don't know. It seems like though, but he didn't even know what he was feeling. He couldn't put it into words, and throughout this movie, he finally did. Particularly that scene where before the dance, where um, he was talking to himself in the mirror, and he was like, "What if I ruin our friendship? What if I this? What if that happens?" And just got to see some of his more vulnerable side. Honestly, in my opinion, it was hard to make that emotional shift with the characters because I don't know, Ron is Ron and Kim is Kim, and
boys will be boys. And
it's well, it was just I don't know, they never really quite fit that way together.
right. Well,
I don't
I
know.
remember one episode where it was like an emotion control lack that was both on Shigo and Kim, and there was a remote that was similar that triggered like emotional responses. So Kim and Shigo both end up falling for Dr. Drakken and Ron, and it was a very funny episode. That's kind of like a preview, dynamic of what
Hmm.
came for Kim and Ron eventually. But that episode, I remember Wade saying, "It's like, no, this is not normal."
It
Uh,
shouldn't happen.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so and then of course we've got Ron's jealousy of Eric, who is the
yeah,
new boy in town,
right.
who is like
So,
everything that Ron is,
every,
but better.
yeah,
Like he's
yeah,
got a motorcycle instead of a beat
a
up little
moped, yeah.
Vespa.
Well,
Yeah.
and Eric comes in at a time where Bonnie is taunting Kim because Bonnie's
Mhm.
with
The ball
a
quarterback
football,
or
yeah,
something.
like Rick or somebody.
Or whatever his name is. I
Yeah,
don't know.
the with the quarterback. But essentially, every cheerleader is with somebody from the football team,
It's
and
different sports
yeah,
where
different sports.
she's like, "What are you gonna have, Kim? The chess team?"
Yeah,
Kim was like, "No."
so no, I'm not gonna do that. And of course, her girl Monique, trying to pep her up and be that inspiration.
Yeah.
And you gotta make Bonnie eat her own words. I think Monique even kind of vouches for Ron. It's like, you could go wrong. I mean, you guys are friends and you can still have a good time together. But I get it. Kim is wanting to fit in, and she feels that she doesn't fit in. She already feels like kind of an outsider from the cheerleading team in her social life. I think it's explained or something that she hasn't dated much or hasn't had really a steady boyfriend because they're intimidated by her seeing the world all the time.
Yeah. I mean, and that really goes into her identity and self-discovery, which is another central theme for both her and Ron. Kim, she's trying to navigate the insecurities of the dating world, of course, which is terrifying.
Yeah. I mean,
But
you and I have both been there.
yeah, she feels like she's, I don't know, too much, I guess. It reminds me of a TikTok video I came across a while back. And it was this lady, she just came on. She was like making a cup of tea, I think. And she was like, did I hear you say that you were too much? No, no, you are not too much. You are exactly what you need to be. And, if someone can't handle you, it's because it's their problem and not your problem. You are not too much. you are, kind of like perfect the way you are. It's the people around you who can't handle you. That's nice. I think that's something that Kim needed to hear. Like, if all those guys that can't handle her, then they're not worthy. And that is hard to swallow as a teenager, And then, of course, we've got um, Ron going through all of his self discovery and trying to figure out where he fits into the whole thing because he keeps messing up the saving plans and rather than helping, and he feels really defeated, and his poor Bueno Nacho is being taken over by this new management, and Kim is changing, and he has a rough time in this one. With change, of course, there comes struggles that come with that. And so another central theme that we found was really just about deception and manipulation because Kim wants to be accepted by her peers and by a guy and all of this. Drakken finds a way to subtly and manipulate Kim emotionally and to distract her so that he can uh, carry out his dastardly plans.
Which honestly, brilliant and genius villain idea.
Really smart.
If you can exploit your arch nemesis or nemesis vulnerabilities, you got them. And Draken like tapped into that. There's a scene that we see previously where Draken is taking Shugo around to the different windows or departments within his lair, and he has this one that is just all about teenage speak and slumber parties and trying to get into like Ken's psyche.
Stevens, progress report.
What up, Dr. D Diggity Dog?
We've lost Stevens.
I did not see the first time I watched this again because I wasn't looking at it really critically. It's the character of Eric, or like as you said, he is suave, debonair. He's Ron, but a better version of Ron. But unfortunately, he's too good to be true.
He is. He's fake.
Yeah. He turns out to be a synthodrone.
At first, I thought he was senior, junior.
Yeah, senior, junior. Yeah, no, he's.
But he is not.
He's not. No. He senior, junior is a lot more muscular.
It is my sincere pleasure to present to you Senor, Senior, Junior.
But you didn't call me a pop sensation.
Like a tortured soul, and my heart, it has a hole.
And one thing I want to touch on briefly, well, actually Rebecca will touch on it briefly, is the soundtrack for this movie. And none other than every teenage heartthrob at that time was Jesse McCartney.
Love Jesse McCartney.
And he had 2 songs in this movie. And Rebecca, what were those?
So it was Why Don't You Kiss Her, which is a perfect song for this particular movie. And then Get Your Shine On during the dance scene.
Right. And Why Don't You Kiss Her was the montage where Kim is like spending time with Eric and Ron is like
Ron's really sad.
Yeah, and left in the background.
Which makes a lot of sense because the lyrics here are, we were the best of friends and we share our secrets. She knows everything that's on my mind. But lately something's changed. As I lie awake in my bed, a voice here in my head softly says, why don't you kiss her?
Yeah, Ron, come on.
It's perfect. Ron's song.
It is Ron's song, yeah. And this is where he really starts to question, say, oh, I really do have feelings for her. I've always had her back and I've always been there, but I feel something.
I know. And I hadn't heard this song in like 20 years, but even still, I knew every single word.
You did.
I was like, oh, I love this song. Josh was like, what are you talking about?
Well, you can't forget songs like Jesse McCartney and Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. For our era during the 90s and early 2000s, that was it.
Early 2000s. Yeah, I remember more of like early 2000s. I gotta say though, yeah, those NSYNC albums I listened to many, many a time. That's good. But yeah, Jesse McCartney was definitely one of those.
So Rebecca, what would you pick out as one of your favorite scenes from this movie?
Ooh, favorite scene. That is a great question. Ugh, it's so hard because there's so many good moments. I mean, do you have a favorite moment?
So it may surprise you. I liked all the Dr. Drakken scenes because he's playing and scheming, and us as the audience, and even the characters in the show, they don't know what he's up to. He has all these different moving pieces, and nobody knows how they connect.
And he's such a goofball
He is.
that it's like, what are you doing? Yeah, I liked I gotta say, I did like Drakken and Shigo. I mean, they're my favorite, Dr. Drakken and Shigo for villains. Because he is so like a bumbling idiot, basically. But yeah, I like when Shigo is like, all right, man, come on, you fess up. What are you actually planning? He's like, you really can't figure it out. How interesting. He's really hamming it up. And she's like, just tell me. Yeah, I think that was maybe one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, and it's good that you bring that up because Draken says, Kim is not smarter than you, so you can't see what's happening here. She certainly can't. But it all comes kind of like to a head, start connecting wires and themes here, where Draken learns that Dr. Possible, Kim's dad, is working on something called the Hephaestus Project, which is supposed to be this like new like subatomic replicating particle of some sort. And this is the technology that Draken uses. Somehow he gets it out of Dr. Possible's mind and gets all the schematics, and he ends up taking over like Taco Bueno. He's the CEO and president now, and he creates all these little figurines called like the Alvalos that are now in like little kids meals. And this
is where we get to spoilers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, sorry. And this big satellite that emerges and activates all these little Diablos to be destructive robots. But yeah, so the little Diablos start, multiplying and, growing immensely huge and wreaking all sorts of havoc. And yet, Kim is, with her vulnerabilities exploited, is at the dance, having a good time with Eric. And she doesn't know that Eric is a synthodrone hired by Dr. Drakken to, as Rebecca, as you said, distract her. And her communicator is going off. And even Eric is like, hey, I'm sure Wade will understand if you, let that go to voicemail. Trying to make her blind to like what's going on around the world. Again, Ron is that voice of reason. He comes charging saying, hey, we gotta go.
Well, and she had to make a choice at the dance, right? Do I believe my best friend of forever or this new guy who she had just met like a couple of days or a week before or something like that? And she ends up choosing Ron. So good for her.
As
good
it
for her
should be.
believing.
As it should be. So aside from the Draken scenes, anything else?
Well, the only other one that's sticking out in my mind is when they wake up, Ron and Kim tied to those big poles, and they start to have a heart to heart. And it was like, yeah, you know what? This is okay. This is whatever, And but then Rufus pops out, and yeah, before they could actually have their full conversation, and Rufus ends up getting the lipstick and freeing them. I don't know why that popped in my head, but I did really like when they got we first saw the lipstick that was a laser, and anyway, Ron was throwing it everywhere and laser anyway. That
Well,
was funny.
he's always bumbled with the new gadgets from Wade.
Yeah. No, okay, no, I got it. My favorite was the blaster pants.
Oh gosh, yes.
That was hilarious.
Because Ron said, I didn't bring that last year. She's all, I put on that last year pants. So you know what it reminded me of? So do you remember a TV show called Totally Spies?
Mhm.
So with all the gadgets like the lipstick and the noxious gas lip balm, a lot of those were used again, different type of animation um in Totally Spies. Now there is a reboot that came out that I watched the first episode of. I don't know what it is. It just
Not the same.
it's not the same.
These reboots for Powerpuff Girls gotta.
They did them dirty. They didn't get the original voice actors.
Yeah.
The whole episodic stuff was it was a mess. I know reboots come with a good intention, but some things are better left as they were.
Yeah. Some things.
And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the appeal of the new generation and bring back and rehashing some what they call retro or nostalgic stuff now, like Animaniacs, great execution. DuckTales, great execution.
Fantastic.
There are very few reboots that have done as well as those two have done, and they're both animated. Go figure.
Yeah, man, DuckTales, top tier.
Oh,
Top
absolutely. I don't know if I would really want a Kim Possible reboot. I know they did a movie, a live action movie. I didn't watch it. It was
We watched it together. I
Oh,
thought.
did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
Yeah, apparently it wasn't memorable to me.
no, it wasn't memorable. It was mid. Okay.
Do you remember the crossovers that they were doing in the early 2000s on Disney? Like, I think Lilo and Stitch, the series, they had the Proud Family on there. They had the Recess Gang on there. They had Kim Possible on there.
My goodness.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
They were heavy on the crossover.
I can't
in that show.
stand crossover
What, really?
shows. Okay, I can't stand the DC crossover specifically on like the CW. The CW network had the Arrow, which was a great show. Love Arrow. And then Flash, great show. But then they started adding in all these other shows like what is it? Catwoman and Supergirl and League of Legends or something. I don't know, whatever it was.
Well, I think your issue was that there were all these different shows
Mhm.
and they all interconnected. So if you saw an episode of, say, The Flash,
Right.
and they're discussing something, but you don't know that you're not in on it because you haven't seen the other show that interconnects to it.
Yeah, so it would start on one of the shows, and then you'd have to watch the rest of the shows and just that episode to see what the heck happens in this arc.
Yeah.
And you're like, I got so fed up. I was like, no, I can't. I can keep up with like a couple,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's frustrating. 'Cause there's some like really important things that happened in those crossover episodes that whatever, it doesn't matter. It did make me upset though.
Well, watch it. Everything's going to become a subscription. We're going to have to subscribe to even watch a single TV show.
No.
Pay for parts 1 and 2.
No, at some point it's going to come back around that you have just like packages. I think we're going
Yeah.
to go back to like what it was during cable. That's my guess.
Well, cable is still around. I'm not sure. I know a few people who have the cable TV, but it's like a foreign concept now.
Yeah, it really is.
We're deciding to make this conversation, by the way, getting off on tangents, as we usually do. But that's okay. You know what you signed up for. So no apologies, no regrets. Or as people say, no regrets if they misspell it. So, Kim Possible again. Let's see where we are here.
Shall we get some Bible in here?
Yeah, we should get some Bible in here because I mean, because it would have been an annual episode with at least one Bible verse. So Rebecca, take us home.
Well, there's of course the betrayal, like we talked about before, where Kim felt like not felt like, she was betrayed. Eric came and he wasn't who he thought he was, and Drakken had specifically sent Eric into her life to distract her from the real plot, and it just makes me think of the devil's plan to distract us from things. So something that comes into our life that seems so good, like Eric as this really cute guy coming to ask you to the dance, or to the prom, then it's really there to distract you. It could be anything. It could be a shiny new project at work that's actually going to take you away from something else, that or from spending time with your family, or it could be any number of
Or in
things.
my case, it's always a shiny new tech toy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. So it's so important to pray and to really listen to the guidance of the Holy Spirit as to where you need to go, what you need to focus on. Listen to that still small voice. If there's a little check in your heart, or you just something just feels off, um, press into that and see what's really going on. Talk about it. But with that betrayal, of course, there's Kim overcoming the hurt, and she starts to find connection again with those who are really, really important to her, like Ron.
Like Ron, like good old Ron. And this brings to mind the verse in Proverbs 18:24, which states that a friend who sits closer than a brother, and this is of course talking about Christ, who you know is there. He's closer than any relationship we could have here on earth. And just like Ron is kind of like somewhat of that Christ archetype in that retrospect of being a friend that's there through thick and thin.
Yeah, he's representative of loyalty
Yes.
and caring.
Well, okay, I guess it's a characteristic of Christ, not really a Christ archetype.
Yeah, I don't know that. I
Not
don't
gonna
know
go
if you
that
go
far.
that far.
All hail Ron. So this is really good to kind of go back and see, hey, like this is really a blast from the past, and like how much I enjoyed it. I actually went back today, like during my break a little bit, and watched a few of the Kim Possible episodes from
Did you?
earlier seasons. Yeah.
That's funny.
One of my favorite ones was like Camp Wannaweep, um, where you had Gil, who like swam in like the toxic lake, and he became like this lake monster. You also had other good villains like Monkey Fist and Duff Gilligan.
They had good villains
They
on
they
Kim
did
Possible.
honestly though, bundling full villains, the
Yeah.
Drakken being top tier,
Yeah, he's
but
great.
good villains nonetheless. So Christy Carlson Romano, who voiced Kim Possible all throughout the series, she's a mom now, and she's done her own podcast and everything. I've never seen a video of her. So she actually had a brief singing career that was very on the down low. Like I didn't even know that.
Was that during her time at Disney?
I think so,
As
but
all
it
of
was
the
like kind of
Disney
like hush
kids?
hush.
Yeah.
Because like Hilary Duff was really big in her singing career. So okay, do you remember Disney Channel Circle of Stars? Like they would have all the stars at the time, and they would sing like The Circle of Life or When You Wish Upon a Star,
Oh,
stuff like that.
vaguely.
Yeah, it was something that like a crossover kind of,
Mm-hmm.
for like a music video, and those are fun and everything. But Chrissy, I think, Could It Be, which was the ending song in this movie. I think it was like the first time she like anybody had heard her like sing. And I don't know that the Disney like always like really hyped it up whenever a voice actor like sang really well in like the show, or had a um like a single that was going to play on this movie or this episode. It's like, and the Davy song from is like way blown out of proportion. Like, this is
Oh
the
yeah.
best thing to happen at Disney ever since Michael Eisner.
Hello, I'm Michael Eisner. I'm here in the virtual reality studio where Disney Imagineers are creating a whole new world of storytelling.
Yeah, they did that, I think, because it was a way to, I mean, they had the platform to promote these artists. It was part of the like marketing strategy or whatever. I think for Disney Channel, it was just part of the plan. They did that very intentionally.
They did, yeah.
Mhm.
So, Rebecca, any closing thoughts? Any other little nuggets or just geek outs that you want to explore before we kind of wrap up things on our mission?
Well, I am surprised that they did not use the full "Call Me, Beep Me" song.
Yeah,
in
okay.
their
It
little
was a
James
very
Bond
it's a
opening.
very James Bond
Yeah,
esque opening.
I mean, it makes sense. She's a spy. She's a whatever, you know. So yes, my closing thoughts. Call me, beep me if you want to reach me.
And what's the sitch? Well, if you have not seen Kim Possible Sell the Drama, it is available on Disney Plus. And if you don't want to do that, it's probably available on Prime or somewhere like that. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications so that you are notified every time we upload a new video. But until next time, keep those halos shiny and stay holy, my friends.